As we entered the 21st century, Japan was stuck in a financial paradox. Known for their diligent saving habits, the Japanese people were facing a conundrum that seemed to defy logic. They had one of the highest savings rates in the world, yet the returns on these savings were dwindling. The culprit? Persistently low interest rates. Instead of their savings growing steadily over time, they were being eroded by the very system that was supposed to protect them. The average Japanese citizen who had worked hard and saved diligently found themselves in a perplexing situation. Their savings were secure, yes, but they were not growing. In fact, they were diminishing in real terms when inflation was taken into account. This was the Japanese savings paradox, a challenge that was soon to be tackled head-on by a visionary leader. This leader was none other than Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi. A charismatic figure with a flair for the dramatic, Koizumi was not your typical Japanese politician. He was a reformist with a radical dream to break down the barriers that kept Japanese personal savings locked within the nation's borders. Koizumi envisioned a future where Japanese citizens could leverage the dynamism and diversity of global financial markets to secure better returns on their savings. It was a bold, audacious vision. A vision that proposed a major shift from the traditional Japanese model of savings and investment. But Koizumi was ready to challenge the status quo. He was ready to take on the entrenched interests and bureaucratic inertia that stood in the way of his reforms. This was the start of Koizumi's ambitious mission, a mission that would revolutionize the Japanese financial landscape. At the heart of Koizumi's plan was the privatization of Japan Post. Considered a financial titan, Japan Post was no ordinary institution. It was the world's largest savings institution, holding an astronomical amount of personal savings, trillions of yen. But Koizumi saw potential beyond its current state. His vision was to transform Japan Post from a monolithic entity into three distinct, yet interconnected entities: Japan Post Bank, Japan Post Insurance, and Japan Post. By doing so, he aimed to diversify their functions and give Japanese citizens more opportunities to grow their wealth. This was no simple task. The scale and significance of Japan Post made its privatization a Herculean task, and one that would reshape Japan's financial landscape. But Koizumi was undeterred. This marked the beginning of a new era for Japan Post and the Japanese savings industry. Among the three entities born from the privatization, Japan Post Bank was a game-changer. This institution, once a traditional savings bank, underwent a radical transformation. It was no longer just a safe haven for personal savings, but evolved into a financial powerhouse. The shift was monumental. For the first time, Japan Post Bank was granted the authority to invest in a broader array of assets. This new role was not limited to domestic markets. Japan Post Bank was now a player in the global financial arena, investing in international bonds and equities. The impact of this was profound. It meant that the savings of ordinary Japanese citizens were no longer confined to low-yield domestic assets. Instead, they had the potential to be invested globally, opening up opportunities for higher returns. This was a major turning point, not just for Japan Post Bank, but for all Japanese savers. With the reforms, a new world of financial opportunities opened up for Japanese citizens. No longer bound by the constraints of domestic investments, they could now ride the waves of global financial markets. The vast expanse of international bonds and equities became accessible, offering a variety of investment options that were previously out of reach. The Japan Post Bank, now armed with the authority to invest in foreign assets, became the gateway for Japanese savers to these global markets. It was a monumental shift, akin to opening a door to a whole new universe of financial possibilities. This was no small feat. It was a move that fundamentally altered the financial landscape for every Japanese citizen. Japanese savers could now diversify their portfolios, investing in foreign companies and economies. This was a groundbreaking shift, offering Japanese savers fresh avenues for diversification and potential growth. However, Koizumi's reforms did not come without their own set of challenges. A significant transformation of this magnitude was bound to face resistance. Critics were swift to voice their concerns, primarily focusing on the perceived increased risk for Japanese savers. They argued that exposure to global financial markets was a double-edged sword. While it promised potentially higher returns, it also carried the inherent volatility and unpredictability of these markets. The critics feared that Japanese savers, traditionally accustomed to the safety of low but certain returns, were now exposed to the whims of global economic cycles. Furthermore, critics also challenged the disruption of the traditional role of savings institutions in Japan. They argued that these institutions were not just repositories of savings, but played a vital role in community development and local lending. These criticisms underscored the complexities of Koizumi's ambitious plan. Despite these challenges, the impact on Japanese savers was undeniable. For generations, the Japanese had been known for their conservative financial habits. They stashed their hard-earned money in savings accounts, reaping the benefits of safety, but also suffering from the curse of low returns. This was the familiar world they knew, a world where the promise of security outweighed the allure of higher returns. But Koizumi's reforms ushered in a new era. Japanese savers were no longer confined to the low-interest environment of their domestic savings accounts. Instead, they were offered a ticket to venture into the vast and vibrant global financial markets. This was a profound change, a shift from the familiar to the unknown, from the secure to the potentially rewarding. The impact was transformative. Japanese savers, once known for their conservative approach, started to diversify their savings. They began exploring foreign stocks and bonds, stepping into the world of international investing. The menu of financial products available to them expanded dramatically, from domestic savings accounts to a wide array of global investment opportunities. This change in financial habits was not just about higher returns, it was about empowerment. Japanese savers were no longer passive players in their financial future. They became active participants, making choices about where and how to invest their savings. They were no longer simply savers, they became investors. This transformation was not without its challenges. Diversification brought potential for higher returns, but it also meant exposure to new risks. Yet, for many Japanese savers, the promise of greater returns and the allure of global investing outweighed these potential risks. This marked a significant departure from the traditional financial practices that had defined Japan for decades. It was a revolution in the truest sense of the word, a dramatic shift in mindset and behavior. And it all started with one visionary leader's bold idea: to open Japanese personal savings to the global financial markets. Beyond reshaping Japan's financial landscape, Koizumi's reforms had a broader global impact. As Japanese savers started venturing into international financial markets, Japan's influence on the global financial stage began to grow. Let's consider this. Japan, a nation known for its high savings rate, suddenly had a new player in the game: the Japanese saver. Empowered by the reforms, these savers were no longer just passive participants in a domestic savings scheme. They were now active players in the global financial community. Their investments in foreign equities and bonds were not just about seeking higher returns. They were also about diversification and exposure to global economic trends. This shift was significant not just for individual savers, but for Japan as a nation. As Japanese investors poured money into foreign markets, they started influencing international capital flows. Imagine the impact of this on a global scale. Trillions of yen flowing out of Japan and into global markets. This was not just about economics. It was a statement of Japan's newfound financial prowess and global integration. Critics may argue about the risks and challenges posed by Koizumi's reforms. Yet no one can deny the profound shift they brought about. A shift from a domestically focused savings scheme to an internationally integrated financial system. These reforms also underscored Japan's commitment to global economic cooperation. By opening up its personal savings to the world, Japan was no longer an island unto itself in financial terms. It was now an integral part of the global financial community, influencing and being influenced by global trends. This was not just a revolution in the way Japanese citizens saved. It was a revolution in the way Japan interacted with the world. It was a statement that Japan was ready to play a bigger role on the global stage. This was Koizumi's legacy, a Japan more connected to the global financial markets than ever before.